All right, all right. How are we doing, everybody? We are here hitting you live in the Action Lab. My name is Chris. This is Scott. We are your hosts. Scotty, you're not here with me this time.
I know. My internet's back, so I'm back to the 21st century. I don't even know. I guess it was borderline 20th century when the internet was around. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it feels good. I mean, I miss being next to you. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to, man, you don't know how much you panic when you don't have internet. Forget like show, no show, like just in general.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
it was super weird for me because I also like not only was on my phone like my Wi-Fi was down, but my data was down. Like it didn't matter. I couldn't access the internet, regardless of whether it was Wi-Fi or data. It drove me nuts. But yeah, glad to be back.
No, yeah. I think, man, It feels good. Hey, we don't right now. We're not having any technical difficulties with the stream, which is fantastic. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. We're gonna have a nice streamlined show for you guys tonight. We are streaming live on all 3 platforms. We are on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you're here following us on any of those, thank you so much. If you're not following and you're just popping in, make sure you're hitting that follow button along the way. Now, we have a lot to get to. There's a lot going on in the world of sports. Mainly, the Final Four was one of the better Final Fours I've seen in a long time. Well, from maybe one half of the tournament bracket. And the other, was, kind of predictable, kind of not in weird ways. But we're going to break down all of that, all of the, let us know, obviously, if you're here, what you guys thought about these games. We're going to be breaking down both the sides, and then we're going to talk about the new championship game that we have all lined up with Baylor and Gonzaga. Sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen those games and you haven't looked at the newspaper or the news or Twitter or Instagram.
I actually didn't know, so you just spoiled it for me, and now I'm upset.
Oh no!
I almost want to walk off the show.
Well, maybe you should. You need to get that internet fixed. You got to get that TV subscription fixed, and maybe if you need help with that, let me know. I know a couple people. So, but yeah. And then as far as everything else goes, we have our Mile High Spotlight tonight. We have 2 teams that are on fire right now. And then we have one that is, just getting out of the gates nice and slow, but we're going to ramp up here soon, probably, hopefully, I hope.
Yeah.
But yes.
We'll get into that. I'll talk about how I feel about that. But
yeah,
we'll get into that later.
Yep. So, and we'll talk about some of our opening day vibes. Everything was great opening day. So I'll touch a little bit on that. Great crowd, by the way, Scotty. It was a fun time. Got to see that little square in front of the stadium that they were building for a while. Fantastic, by the way. We walked through it on the way back out of the stadium to the light rail station, and it looked phenomenal. I actually just want to go down and just hang out there for a game. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that place is gonna be sweet, and huge screen in there. I'm sure you saw that in the middle of an open area. A lot of people are probably like, I don't even know what you're talking about. We're talking about McGregor Square. It's a new kind of building built right across from Coors Field where the Rockies play. Just opening up with like a hotel and, different restaurants, bars, stores, condo, office space. But in the middle, it's like an open area. There's a giant screen. They put on the Rockies games outdoors with there's a grassy hill you can sit on, and then like a open in the middle with tables and chairs that you can chill out and just drink beer out there and watch the game. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, no. And it's been a perfect week for weather in Colorado this week. So it's been nothing but ideal for at least weather-wise and an environment and atmosphere downtown for the Rockies finally having some fans back in the stands.
It feels good. It feels really good. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the first major event I've been to since COVID hit. That's the biggest population, and it kind of felt normal for the most part. Once you're in, I mean, you kind of settle into your seat. You see everyone around. You don't really see a lot of you don't really feel a lot of the vibes from COVID, which is really nice. So yeah, it was an incredible day, perfect day. See the mountains in the background. That's the one thing with Coors Field. If you're sitting along that first base line on the 3rd level, you can see the mountains. You can see everything. It was sunny, amazing. I had a few drinks. It felt really, really good to just let loose a little bit. Lodo, by the way, everywhere around Lodo was, it was buzzing like it used to. Maybe not the same level because there wasn't as many people going to the game, and there's just a lot less people still kind of hesitant to go out with COVID. But yeah, otherwise it was as buzzing as it possibly could be.
Yeah, I working down there, forget totally. And then I was actually walking through the stadium to do something real quick, and there was a group of guys that were walking into the stadium, and they're like, guys, we got to slow down for a second. We are in a major league stadium right now, and not so much like they've never been in one, but like after all this COVID, it was just like, we got to stop and take our breath. And for me to like see people like so excited and be like, this is like a huge moment just to be back here. And like, hopefully as a country, we're moving continually in the right direction as far as with this pandemic, and hopefully we'll be back to full capacity. I know NFL's already said they plan on getting back to full capacity, and I know at the Rockies we're planning on it too. So but it was nice to just like see these people that were just like taking it in and being like, wow, like it's been so long since we have been able to do something like this, and here we are. Let's soak it in, let's enjoy it, win or lose, but the Rockies got to win on opening day. We'll get into more of that later, but at least they took care of that opening day crowd against the defending World Series champion Dodgers.
Yes. And we'll kind of recap for you guys what that series looked like. So we'll dive into all that. But first, we want to jump in and we want to dive into this big Final Four weekend here. Now, this Final Four, started out, opposite of what I would have expected. Now, I thought this was going to be a complete different. If we were going into this Final Four, and we talked about this on the last show, I expected that Houston-Baylor game to be a lot tighter than I would have expected. It was going to be like a back and forth. Houston's going to be hitting, Baylor, and Baylor's going to be knocking on the door with running the ball down the court, back and forth, and all these things, keeping it a really tight, close game. Whereas the Gonzaga, they were 14-point favorites against the number 11 UCLA team. So you didn't really have a lot of expectations from like a UCLA to really keep it competitive. So I thought this was going to be more of like that blowout, maybe 5-10 points max, on the lower end, I should say. And it ended up being the complete opposite of what I expected from both these games. So yeah, as far as this goes, let's go ahead. We'll start talking about the Baylor game and kind of just dive into what ended up happening here. So Baylor did end up getting the win to advance to the national championship here. Now Baylor, man, they played a fantastic game right out of the gate. Again, we thought this was going to be a lot closer than everyone would have predicted. And as far as this goes, this was kind of a snoozer in the first half. Big lead, 45-20 in the first half. And, Baylor was just in control the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, this one got ugly kind of quick as far as the scoreboard. You don't often see, and I haven't looked it up, I probably should figure it out, a Final Four game where a team's up 25 at halftime, like 45-20 at half in this game. Baylor played a perfect first half. To play against a good Houston team that's kind of controlled every game they've been in, and just absolutely dominated them the way they did. Like, this is the Baylor team, I've talked about it before, that started out this season and got to an undefeated record until they, eventually had some COVID issues, and then Texas had their issues with all the cold weather and, power outages and stuff like that. So they were affected through that break, and it took them a little while to get back. They lost a couple games in that stretch, including to my Kansas Jayhawks. I'll just throw that in.
Got to throw the
Kansas.
Kansas.
Was one of their 2 losses. Yeah. But no, Baylor played a phenomenal first half. 45-20, shot lights out. Like, for the game, they shot 52%, which isn't like insane, but it's really, really good against a Houston defense that's really, really good. They made 11 of 24 threes, so they were hitting those. And even, once you're up 25 at half, it's really, really hard, especially with college kids, to get them to come out in that second half and continue to like play really hard. And Houston did make a run. I think they cut it to like 16, but they never got it closer than 16 points in the second half. Baylor continued to just hold it at that spot. It fluctuated from around 16 to 22 or something, ended at the 19. That was the final there. But this game was never in question. Baylor played a phenomenal basketball game. If they play like that tomorrow, we're going to have one hell of a national championship. And that maybe can't match a Final Four game that we saw, but maybe it will. And that would be awesome because Baylor played phenomenal. And now we're going to get the matchup we sadly didn't get that we expected to get early on in the season, Baylor versus Gonzaga. And that's going to be awesome to watch. I mean, it's not often that you get the consensus throughout the season, top 2 teams in the country to actually make it to the national championship game. And we have that this year. We have, over the course of the season, these were the top 2 teams in the country. And now at times, especially Baylor wasn't maybe playing up to that level, but throughout the year, they were a top 2 team. So we're super lucky as fans to get that matchup, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night.
Yep. Jared Butler was phenomenal in the first half in this one. He scored 17, all 17 of his points in the first half, which is part of that big 45-20, lead going into halftime. So obviously he got them out to a very, very fast start. Depending on how, he continues to play, right off the bat, I think he is a catalyst. So if he's going to be getting a fast start again, it's going to be, really tough for, the Gonzaga Bulldogs to, match what he can bring, because he brought it first half just right out of the gates. And that's what really put, Baylor in the driver's seat from that point on. He was phenomenal. On the other side, Houston just didn't exactly have, enough juice. It just seemed like they were just flat. Just coming out of the gates, which was kind of uncharacteristic for a Houston, I think, for, from my standpoint, the way they have been playing in the tournament. This is the first national championship game since 1948 for Baylor. So this is a big one. This is a huge game. This isn't normal territory for them. They're not used to being in major games like this. So, as far as, like a Mark Few goes, when it comes to, and we'll break this down, from, once we get closer this later on. Mark Few has been here. So,
hold on. You're making a point that they haven't been there. Mark Few's been there once.
Yeah.
He's experienced. Okay.
Yeah. Well, recently.
He's played there once. Once
is better than 1948. I'll tell you that. There's a little bit there. Baylor was 6-0 against Texas teams this season. Maybe we should have looked at this stat before this game started, because then that would have told us all we needed to know, from that standpoint. They just, they crushed everybody else in Texas, Houston included. Just par for the course for the rest of this, this team.
I guess I should have brought it up because I knew they were undefeated against Texas. only because they've lost 2 games this year, and I know which 2 teams they've lost to. And those 2 teams aren't in Texas.
Yeah. Honestly, Baylor is a team that they're the team that we thought they would be at this point. To quote our old boy, from the NFL, they are who we thought they were. Who said that? I forget.
It was Denny Green.
Denny Green. They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. Houston didn't exactly just let them off the hook. They just let them blow them out. But, hey, Baylor's just dominating right now, and they're looking like the team that we thought they would be from the get-go. So another one here, Houston's opponents Houston was holding opponents to 37.3% shooting. Baylor shot a whopping 52.7. So they absolutely just tore up, Houston from a shooting standpoint. The defense just wasn't able to just slow down all of the shooters that Baylor was throwing at them. So, that's a heck of a stat right there. Just
especially in the Baylor graphic right there, he's getting fouled on that shot.
Yeah. I don't know if he made that
Taking
shot.
buckets. I don't know if he made it. Hopefully they called a foul because he's getting hit.
So so Baylor advances. They are looking fantastic. As far as this game goes, I believe didn't they have like 8,000 people in the stands for this game? I think they were roughly 8,000 people.
In a football stadium, obviously on the sides, it's just that you can't see any of the fans, which is unfortunate because they have on the sides, like where the camera angle is, like it just looks like they have like a graphics and stuff. So it's nice that they have some fans there. I wish they could have some fans on the side so like you could see some fans watching the game as you're watching it. But glad some are there at least.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess this stadium could hold 70,000 fans, so 8,000 isn't exactly big in the grand scheme of things, but it's better than nothing. And I think I think they might have around the same, if not slightly more, for this last game, the championship. I don't expect them to have a ton.
I would assume it's the same number. I don't know why you would change it at this point. The ticketing professional I am, they're gonna have the same number.
Yeah. Okay. So so this is the first half, again, not as exciting as again we would have expected, but hey, Baylor did what they had to do. They got the win. So you're not going to be too upset, because it ends up leading to the blockbuster that everybody wanted to see, and
that was Miley Cyrus in concert.
By the way, that Miley Cyrus concert, first of all,
okay, go off.
That was a heck of a concert from she did like 8 or 9 songs. I was like, wow, this is impressive. Like that, the fact that they're giving her that much time. We're digressing from basketball for a minute. 2, Miley Cyrus, I like the style of music. Like she's going like that retro Janis Joplin style, like old school, like rock kind of retro feel with her performances. I don't hate it because I like that era of music. When she's doing like the old school classic rock. And I don't hate the style of music. P. Nix, right off the bat, no, just.
This is the first comment we get when we start talking about Miley.
Maybe we should just talk about Miley Cyrus from the start of the show, so that way we could get people chatting right away. P. Nix was terrible. I mean, I don't think there were some I don't think it was a bad performance by any means. I didn't think it was like the best performance I've ever seen either. I wouldn't see Miley Cyrus in concert, but I will say some of the songs that she plays obviously come from like the pop version. You got the retro, the way she spliced it all together. It was a kind of decent show. I mean, again, it was fine. I liked it. I didn't have high expectations, so it lived up a little bit higher than my expectations would have been going into that. But Scotty, so what did you think?
I think, haven't you been to 3 Miley shows? I might have made that up. I threw you a wrench right there. No, you have not been to 3 Miley shows.
I thought you were asking P. Nix. Me?
No, I was asking you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I've never been to a single Miley show.
Yeah, I had it at work. I had my TV on in my office on mute during it. But even just watching her, I was just like, this. Why has this been on for as long as it has? without even the sound, I was like, I'm not into it. I thought this Gonzaga game was gonna start before midnight for people on the East Coast. Can we just start the game already? And I feel like they allowed her to go. Apparently, they allowed her to go that long because of cleaning protocols in between games for the first Final Four game and the second. They had to clean everything, so it took a long time. So they had a lot of time to kill. But man, Miley's best song in my mind was "Party in the USA." My friends will know why. It was like one trip, like 15 years ago or something, whatever that was, and we just jammed out to "Party in the USA," and it was awesome and it was great. Since then, Miley's kind of fallen off for me. a little crazy for me now. I'm not into it. I know a lot of people are, but I don't imagine a lot of the audience that's watching the Final Four is like, oh, thank goodness we get to watch Miley Cyrus for like 45 minutes. Let's do this. Like,
so
that was weird. It was weird.
As long as we bring back Party in the USA for You, you'll be happy. That we gotta see. Maybe I should have some Party in the USA playing as our intro if we didn't have copyright laws going against us here, and then we would just get you jacked up because we know that's where your home base is.
Yeah. But then can I don't even need to see Miley at all. I would rather listen to the song and not see Miley. Maybe I'm alone in that, but Miley to me is just she's a little weird. Weird for me.
She's had some different evolutions, and she went from like pop Disney to kind of like a hip hop / pop, and then all of a sudden she's going retro, Stevie Nicks, Janis Joplin kind of vibe, and it's just such a weird. She did country for a little bit with her dad, I think. She kind of dove into that spectrum. She's literally done every type of music. Reggae might be next. I would love reggae if she can jump into that. That'd be fun.
And everyone, tune in tomorrow for our Miley Cyrus special.
It's
gonna be 2 full hours of us talking about Miley.
Phoenix.
Phoenix says, let's move on. Perfect.
So before we get to the Zags, there's another Miley Cyrus topic. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Phoenix. Let's just splice in Miley Cyrus just like tidbits throughout this entire show, and just get people excited, especially Nix.
Yeah.
The other game.
Know enough about it. Yeah, you do it.
The other game we had on the docket here was this was probably one of the best, just in general. I've been telling people, just around me, one of the best basketball games, pro, college, in general, one of the best games I've ever watched in my life. It's definitely one of the most memorable. It's one of my top 5, if not top. I don't know. See, here's the thing. Like, I want to say it's one of those top games because, I've watched a lot of basketball. And maybe there's just this recency bias because it just happened last night and it was so crazy. So I want to just take that into account. But this game was absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I can recall another game off the top of my head that can compare with this most recent game that wasn't even a championship game. This was a Final Four game. And it lived up. If you were to take this game and say this was a national championship game, I would be perfectly happy with that. That's how amazing this one was. So Gonzaga Bulldogs end up pulling out the win with a last-second heroic shot by Jalen Suggs from half court, practically. If you didn't see the end of the game, if you've been living under a rock, the replays on Twitter, they're all over the place. But, UCLA comes back down. They're down 2 with 3.3 seconds left. They tie the game. And you just think, okay, it's going into overtime again. So this is the second overtime if they're going to be getting to this. And then inbound the ball. Jalen Suggs marches it up. 3, 2, 1. As the clock expires, you have a massive shot from half court. Banks in, so it's not the cleanest of shots. So there was a little bit of a luck factor there. Either way, it would have gone into overtime. I don't know how we can talk about what we would have felt like if it would have gone into overtime, but just miraculous. There was actually, Scotty, a lot of TikTok videos and YouTube videos of UCLA fans that celebrated the tying shot. They were just they were going crazy at their bar, screaming, like celebrating. And then they look back up 2 seconds later, and then all these UCLA fans are on the ground in pain because of what they were. They didn't think there was enough time. It was going to go into overtime, but absolutely stunning game. We're going to go into the details here in a second. P-Nix reminded me of when I was at the Zag Arizona double OT game in SLC in 03. Best game I've ever been to live, but last night tops it. It's hard to say that.
I'll be honest, I don't remember that game, but I'm sure last night has to top it because a Zag Arizona game would just be regular season. So, but in person would have been cool.
Yeah.
I wish there were more people there last night.
Scotty, I know you were kind of in and out on this game, kind of watching here and there, right? Because you had some things going on, obviously, with the Rockies. But from your standpoint, what was your gut reaction when you saw this game and when you saw that last play, just top to bottom? What were you feeling?
I think overall, I think I said on the Wednesday show. What I haven't seen in college basketball this year or in this tournament was two teams playing at a high level in a really, really close game. And we finally got it. And then some in this game. Both teams played offensively really, really great basketball. I think both teams shot, over 50% for sure, just below 60. I think both were in the high 50% for shooting from the field in this game. Obviously, it headed to overtime. UCLA had the ball last in regulation, and there was a close call, which I thought was the right call. Usually in college basketball, I feel when they call a charge, it's usually a really, really bad call. They call way too many charges in college basketball. I felt like this one, I felt like it either should have been a charge or a no call, and the ball didn't go in. So at that point, it really didn't matter because there was 1 second left in regulation. But for those who watched to the end, Johnny Juzang, who played phenomenal, of course, again for UCLA, is 12 of 18 from the field, put up 29 points in this game. Had the ball at the end, drew Timmy with 4 fouls, stood right outside the cylinder and drew the charge, which I thought, like I said, was a good call. So I was happy to see that. Certainly didn't want a block call there to decide the game. The overtime, I felt like obviously Timmy took over from the start in overtime. He scored the first 6 points for Gonzaga. Gonzaga was they were up for like 5 with like 30 seconds to go, a little more than 30 seconds. UCLA hit a 3. Gonzaga missed a shot. UCLA got it back. And then Juzang got his own rebound and put it in with, like you said, 3.3 seconds left. Someone on UCLA should have stopped ball. That was really, really bad defense from a UCLA perspective but they're just thinking like, just don't foul, let them shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And Suggs made some unbelievable plays down the stretch of regulation. Obviously people point to that block shot followed by him getting it, and that pass to Timmy on the fast break following that was like a game changer that brought it to overtime.
One video conference call,
that was a huge play. Suggs hitting that shot. The only thing that prevents it from, like, listen, it was awesome. It was great to see. It was crazy to watch. I really, really, really wish he wouldn't have banked it in. I really would have preferred like him just not using the backboard to get it in, because then it's more, I don't know, it's a little less like, hey, this is a fluke, to decide a game in which both teams played really, really great basketball. But he made it. He hit it in off the backboard. Super fun to watch, super celebration. Suggs is a stud. Suggs is, like we talked about, going to be a top 5 pick in the draft next year. Super exciting game. Super exciting. I feel like we needed in this tournament. We needed a game like this to watch a game at a high level. I feel like college basketball's overall level, especially offensively, has dipped in skill making wise and like shot making wise. And finally, we got a game that we all deserved in this game, where both teams played great. Neither team deserved to lose, and unfortunately, we had a team that lost. But I think ultimately we have the right teams in the national championship game, the teams that are most deserving to be there. So,
and I'll tell you, the 3 boys on UCLA, you had Jaquez, Juzang, and Campbell. Those 3 guys were just unbelievable. Campbell at the point guard, he looks like a little Bob Marley. He looked literally, if you were to take Bob Marley, put him in a UCLA jersey, it's literally him on the court. He's super dynamic. He's strong with the ball. One of the best point guards I've seen, in the tournament as far as his play last night. and he was absolutely stunning. 17 points. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the way he controlled that offense and controlled that game, was absolutely incredible. As far as Jaquez, 19 points. He had a big game, but Juzang had 29, and he was just unbelievable. Suggs had 16. Kispert had 15, which I'm going to touch on him in a minute. I have some opinions on Kispert, how I felt early on, and then it ended up getting a little bit better as its game went on. And Drew Timme, he gets kind of lost in this because he had 25 points. Once he got rolling, it took him a minute, but once he got rolling, man, he was doing what he always does, and he just facilitates. He gets those buckets underneath, gets those and ones, and he just turns that game around. He can control that paint more than you would think from a guy of his size against bigger competition. So he's crafty, man. What did you call him last time? I think you called him. It was like
I think it was crafty.
Crafty was the word you
exactly crafty.
And that's how he plays his game. So it was absolutely incredible the way he jumped in there. This was the first buzzer beater to send a team to the national championship since 1977. So that's kind of fun. We don't see those very often. P-Nix in the chat. It was second round. Arizona was 1. Zags were 8 or 9 in that year. So that was that 03 year you're referring to. And then not the best offensive game for the Zags, but still very good. Yayi had a great game. I agree. Yayi's rebounding is the most underrated thing about his game. He can just get those offensive rebounds all day long. I was really surprised that Kispert actually took a while to get rolling in this one. I looked over at my wife, who, we were watching the game side by side, and I even told her, I'm like, has Kispert, and this was the first half, really didn't get a lot going in the first half. Didn't have a lot of big shots. He actually, towards the end of the first half, he kind of got a couple that got him going before halftime. But up until that point, he was kind of non-existent. And I was really hoping, I told, a few people around me that I was like, he's the key to this. We know what we're going to get from Timme. You pretty much know what you're going to get from Suggs. And then Kispert, over the course of this, tournament, he's been up and down. He's had some good games, some average games. But he ended up with 15, 6 for 13 shooting, 2 for 8 from 3. 2 for 8 from 3 for Kispert isn't exactly what he's used to doing. When it comes to, he was a little colder shooting there. So that was kind of one of the things that was a little bit surprising. Once he did get going in the second half, it felt a little better. Nembhard had an average game, but he made some big plays when they needed him. He had a couple big time shots and drew a couple of fouls here and there that really got them going. And again, Yayi, fantastic. He had 6 rebounds. So across the board, this was just one of those greats. This was an instant classic. UCLA probably played the best game they could possibly play, pretty much. So they shot 57.6%. The Zags shot 58.7%. So you had two teams just playing really good shooting the ball. And then as far as everything else goes, 3-point shooting percentage, 47% from UCLA. Gonzaga, uncharacteristically, was 7 for 21, 33%. So, they kind of, didn't hit the same threes that they typically hit. So there's some, different things that kind of came into play with this one. But UCLA played an absolutely stellar game.
UCLA played really well. I'll say the one thing neither team did well, which was weird in a brilliant offensive game, is both teams didn't shoot well from the free throw line. I think UCLA was 14 of 21.
Yep.
And Gonzaga was 12 of 20. So neither team shot well from the line, uncharacteristically. To P. Nixon's point, not the best offensive game for the Zags. I agree from 3-point range that percentage wasn't quite there, but they shot 30 of 42 from inside the arc. They shot 71% from inside 3-point range. That's insane. Like, if I was unguarded inside the 3-point arc, and granted I didn't play college basketball, most of those guys in warm-ups unguarded maybe shoot 71%. That would be like a fortunate thing. Like, and everything's dependent on shots, but going 30 of 42 as a team from inside 3-point range is absolutely insane. And that's what Gonzaga did in this game, and that was the difference. Like, they made everything within the arc. They didn't shoot as well from three, but they did everything, everything inside that 3-point line. They kind of controlled and made all those shots, and then they got a huge clutch shot at the end from Suggs down the outside of Timmy offensively doing really well to start the overtime. Suggs looked like the best athlete on the court, and I found out he's second cousins with Terrell Suggs.
Yep.
Defensive lineman that played all those years with the Ravens and actually won a Super Bowl with my Chiefs last year. So didn't know there was a relationship. I think they're just second cousins, so I'm not sure they're best friends, but that's kind of cool. And apparently I had no idea that he was like he was college, like in Minnesota. Jalen Suggs was college basketball and college football player of the year. He was a quarterback in college. Saw a few clips after this of him playing quarterback. Had a pretty good arm and could certainly move outside the pocket and make things happen with his legs. So he's an athlete, and his IQ is off the charts for a freshman. So he's gonna make a NBA team that drafts him in the top 5 very, very happy. He may not ever have the athleticism quite to be like a superstar, but he's gonna be certainly all-star material, certainly like a player you want on your team for sure. And he's gonna lead you at that point guard position, and came up clutch last night.
Yeah, no, I think he is one of the best. I mean, he shined last night. Now, again, the Zags put up 93. They put up 81 in regulation before overtime. Now, if you were to tell me, before this game that, all right, what if the Zags score more than 85 points? I would say they're probably going to win that game just based off of the fact that they're just offensively gifted, and the fact that, if you're putting up 85 plus points, even 81 plus points, that's a lot for another team to deal with, as far as being able to outscore that. Now, again, 93-90. UCLA stuck with them all the way through. Now, after this shot, it was kind of funny. He kind of ran over to the scoreboard and did like the Kobe, like standing up on the, there's been a couple athletes who have gone over. Super iconic. Like, he even mentioned that, this was going to be one of those, he felt in the moment like a Kobe, like, pumping his arm on the side of the little scores table.
Always wanted to do is a Kobe and Dwayne Wade were the two guys
Yep.
referenced that have done that, and he's always dreamed of jumping up on the score table like that and doing that.
He got his chance. He got his chance, which was incredible. Here are some of the tweets from some of the big names around. Now, LeBron James, one of the best games I've ever seen in a long time. I agree. Irvin Magic Johnson, just wow. Your boy Patrick Mahomes. Are you kidding me? Hashtag Final Four. He was impressed. I mean, Trae Young, that was crazy. Hell of a game. Even Drew Brees chimed in. I see you, Suggs. Yeah, let's go. So, this had the sports world buzzing. Sports world, if you're just an average college basketball fan, just watching the Final Four, keeping an eye on your bracket, man, how could you not love a game like this? Everybody was just... I couldn't go on Twitter. I couldn't go on Facebook without people just talking about how insane this is. And they're not even fans of either of these teams. I will say the reactions from a lot of the UCLA, I mentioned it earlier, there's UCLA fans just freaking out when they tie the game. Yes, it almost seemed like they won the game. They were celebrating. If you're a betting person, by the way, there was a couple of those on videos where people were heavily betting on UCLA to win this outright, just money line. And they were excited when it was going into potentially a second overtime, and it ended up just melting in front of their faces 3.3 seconds later.
Yep. Yeah. Selfishly, I'm happy with the result, but I would have liked to watch 5 more minutes.
I mean, I don't know. I would have been. I don't know. I think if there was 5 more minutes.
I wasn't quite I'm not quite as invested as you are. So.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more invested. But the problem with me going into overtime one more time was Drew Timme had 4 fouls. So that was a big thing for going into longer stages of this game. Now, Bernard on UCLA had 4 fouls like the whole game practically. But Juzang only had 2. Jaquez only had 2. Campbell only had 2. You want to put those big 3 up against a team that doesn't have Drew Timme, and I don't know. I don't like the chances of those guys and not being able to get good, reliable baskets from Timme if he's sitting on the pine with, fouling out. So that I felt like the Zags were slowly running out of time with the fouls. Everyone else on the Zags, I think Suggs had 3, Ayayi had 3, and that was it. The rest, it wasn't really close. But you're getting
one thing.
You're running out of gas there.
One thing I'll add though is if they could redo Coach of the Year right now. Listen, I know Mark Few's been phenomenal. I know he finished second. I actually forget who got first. My brother P Nixon in the chat told me the other day, and I forgot. Anyway, Mick Cronin for UCLA has done an absolutely phenomenal job. They lost to injury Chris Smith, who was like their best returning player coming into this year. He had a season-ending knee injury. They had a recruit, Dacian Nix, who was like a top recruit in the country. He was a 5-star recruit that ended up going G League instead of joining UCLA. So with those 2 pieces, who knows what UCLA could have done, but hats off to them. They were basically playing, I think their bench scored like 6 points in this game. So they were all, I think, outside of, they had like one guy on their bench that played a lot of minutes, and they had 2 other guys that played like 5 and 8 minutes in a game that went to overtime. So, Juwan Howard won AP Coach of the Year. So thanks, P. Nixon. Few won Naismith. So they split them. Both deserving of those. But Mick Cronin, the job he did with this team in the NCAA tournament was absolutely phenomenal, with a team that we kind of talked about, like talent-wise and roster-wise, isn't like an overwhelmingly talented team. Obviously, Juzang is a great shot maker and a really, really great player, but all those other guys are kind of like complementary pieces that fit in and equaled a great run. Like, how crazy would it have been to have a first 4 make the national championship game?
It would have been insane.
A first four that was down like 7 with 2 minutes to go in their first game and had to win in overtime just to make it into the first round of the tournament. Like, wild.
I remember
hats off to Mick Cronin.
Yeah, I remember us picking Michigan State to win that game. We all had Michigan State saying, "Oh yeah, Izzo's gonna come in."
And I'm not sure that Michigan State wouldn't have not gone on a similar run, but hats off to Mick Cronin. Hell of a coach.
Most points in a single tournament by an UCLA player is second. So Johnny Juzang, 137. Gail Goodrich, 140. So he missed it by 3 points here. That just shows you the kind of just tear that Johnny Juzang has been on. He was absolutely incredible for UCLA, man. That guy, every time the ball was in his hands, you knew it was going to be going in. Like he had that just rhythm. So unbelievable tournament for Johnny Juzang. I don't even know, is he I haven't looked at latest mock drafts or anything. Has he climbed into a little higher position when it comes to NBA draft standards? I don't know if he was in those.
I don't know I'll try and look up a recent one.
Yeah, I'm curious. Because if not, he's made if he hasn't made a name for himself, in the first couple rounds, he did a good job in making a name for himself for draft boards last night. So, as far as this, overall tournament, he's been fantastic. And then as far as as far as Gonzaga goes, this is their second title game in the last 4 tournaments. So, Mark Few has got these guys, these rosters just, the recruiting has been a lot better. Actually, the Zags ended up getting a point guard, one of the top point guards in the country to commit this past week, I believe. I think he's the number 3 point guard potential, or number 3 prospect or number 3 point guard.
He's a top 10 prospect. I don't know where he's at on the point guard rankings, but he's a top 10 prospect in the country.
So that means he's the number probably 3 point guard then. Yeah. I think in the country.
Means point guards are loaded because I think he's ranked around like 7 or 8, and that all depends on what like site you're looking at.
Obviously, yeah. So, but hey, Mark Few's gonna keep reloading. I mean, as a Zags fan, I always get upset when like you lose like a Sabonis, an NBA caliber guy, or you lose a Rui Hachimura, or you lose any of these big names. These are all NBA talented players, and I'm always bummed because I know, like, all right, this is the best team Mark Few has had in the last, couple years, 3 or 4 years. Like, this is the team, and then they end up coming short, and it's like they end up going to the NBA. There's your window; it's gone. But now Gonzaga is starting to be that team that's reloading. I mean, you had Jalen Suggs, you had Nembhard transfer in from Florida. He was a 2-year starter in Florida. They're starting to get guys that are coming through every single year that are starting to build this Gonzaga recruiting class, almost like a Alabama in maybe not to that extent, I guess, because there's a. I knew you were gonna come at me. Maybe not quite. All right, maybe that was a little aggressive.
That was the worst comparison I've ever heard.
Maybe that was a little aggressive. Maybe that was a little too much. And maybe I got a little excited. Penix, Zags are a favorite for number 1 Chet Holmgren too. Yeah. Yep. I've heard some good things about that. I don't know when he's planning on committing or anything. I don't know if that's been out there, but
it sounds like he'll either be Gonzaga. Everyone thinks he'll either be Gonzaga or he'll